Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. Happy to have all of you here today for our meeting. This is the 20th of January, 2026. If you have a cell phone with you, would you please turn it to off or vibrate? Now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Holly will now call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Woosley.
Here.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Present.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
And Judge Vogel.
Here, having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Are there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll approve the minutes from our last meeting, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, now it's time for public comment. We allow 4 minutes if someone would like to address the fiscal court on an item of a community interest. If you plan on speaking in regard to the data center hearing, I ask you not to get up at this point, but just let others who have anything else to speak about do so. We'd like to ask you to state your name and address, please, and go ahead.
Barry Laws, I'm a resident of Oldham County. Also, this has to do with the data center, but it's not, it's just a correction. Do you want me to wait? Would you rather?
Well, okay. I mean, we just don't want to
Okay.
reinvent the wheel 3 or 4 times here today, but go ahead if you
No,
have something
I appreciate
different.
that. On your packet, what you received, page 3, this for the data center, they're talking about the zoning, 1,000 feet setbacks and a 1,500-foot setback. The last sentence there, this measurement shall be taken from the structure, building, or equipment, was not in the original meeting. I do have the notes here, so if anybody needs to see these notes, or it's very clear, Commissioner Davis stated that they must be 1,500 feet from any proposed where they own land. And then King replied, the 1,000 as recommended stands, plus a 1,500-foot setback for the schools. So that actual sentence did not exist from the amendment. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address the court here? Ask you to state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Michael Duncan, and I live in 1926 Cherry Glen Drive in LaGrange, 40031. This is not with regards to the data center. However, this is. Today I'm here speaking with you, before you as a resident of LaGrange, out of concern for myself and all my neighbors, as this body considers a topic of adding flock cameras on the agenda. Flock cameras have been creeping their way into cities and small towns alike with promises of reduced crime and safer communities. But the data do not clearly indicate that flock cameras reduce crime. In fact, as one source puts it, there's no independent research proving that ALPRs can reduce crime. And if the CEO's statement that their cameras will eliminate and stop crime, well, then why hasn't crime stopped already? Headlines and supporting studies claim otherwise are often produced by these companies that are selling ALPRs and the police agencies buying them. But in recent years, Flock has also faced significant criticism for the many ways that such large amounts of personal data have been misused when these systems have been installed. Not only that, but Flock has also been in the news for data breaches from hackers, from lax security standards in the programming, and then also for being used to stalk individuals not accused of any crime, and from mistaken ratings which result in unwarranted arrests of everyday citizens. At the same time, I would also question whether Flock as a company overall is trustworthy with to partner. According to the Eugene, Oregon Police Chief Chris Skinner, Flock turned a camera back on after the city had ordered cameras to be shut down, as reported December 9th in KLCC. Similar reports come from Cambridge, Massachusetts. In Denver, Police Sergeant Jamie Milliman falsely accused an innocent woman of theft based on Flock camera alerts. He would have never been in that position in the first place if they didn't have that contract. Also, it's important to note this is not a safety buddy surveillance firm. In fact, in 2022, Flock CEO Garrett Langley filed a patent for a dynamic surveillance network, not a dynamic safety network. With more than 80,000 AI-powered cameras across the US, which is a selling point, it's important to note that this is a $7.5 billion business, and their interests are in that of their shareholders, not of the communities in which their cameras are placed. In addition, YouTuber Ben Jordan highlighted security vulnerabilities, and after which was threatened himself in response. He then publicly demonstrated the integrity and the truth of his findings and showed some insane responses that he received from Flock Safety. As a result of that, more recently, Staunton, Virginia Police Chief Jim Williams canceled their contract over issues with the ideology of Flock's CEO, referring specifically to the arrogant and unhinged demonization of anyone who opposed his surveillance network. Right? Even when offered opportunities to recognize security faults and fix vulnerabilities, they chose to be defensive. Lastly, people deserve privacy. The 2018 case Carpenter versus the US had the Supreme Court rule that law enforcement must have a warrant to track your location using cell phone data, even when moving around in public, even when that data is held by a private company. But that did not stop Flock from selling their surveillance network, which allows law enforcement to bypass the Fourth Amendment. Courts have also agreed that Flock camera footage is public records data. In November 2025, Skagit County Superior Court ruled that Flock images generated are public records.
Time. Do you need more time?
Just a moment, if I can.
Make a motion, we give him 1 more minute.
Second.
All right, proceed.
Thank you. So Skagit County Superior Court ruled that Flock images generated by the Flock cameras are public records. Flock camera images are created and used to further a governmental purpose. The images created by the cameras, located in this case in Stanwood and Sedro-Woolley, were paid for by them and generated for their benefit. So ultimately, there is then also a duty and burden with the Open Records Act of that state. Lastly, I would ask, how does this reconcile with the Kentucky Consumer Data Protection Act, which is now in effect as of January 1st of 2026? If the need is truly there, then let's understand better and create policy to address the need. What is the public records law that we're subject to? What is the privacy law? What are our contracts? And what are our policy and procedure manuals? And lastly, there was a recent meeting in eminence about this very topic as well. Former District 7 State Senator Adrian Southworth said, "While some features can be tools that help us, I've always felt that technology interferes with human experience. Using a calculator makes us unable to do mental math. Having a phone distracts us from the people sitting at our own dinner table." I'll wrap it up. If we are eventually going to participate in adding technology, we need to assess exactly what it is best for, what it is not good for, and tailor its use to its strengths only. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
I'm Larry Kaiser, excuse me, Larry Kaiser, 3000 Maple Leaf Drive. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'd like to ask the court to consider holding evening meetings or at least allowing full participation remotely, such as Zoom, so more people can engage in the process here. I'd also like to speak against the use of the flock cameras and ICE-related contracts. ICE raises serious concerns about the First and Fourth Amendments. And flock cameras implicate Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. If the goal is addressing vehicle theft and things like that, have solution-based, orient your solutions based on what you're trying to do. For example, if it's like car theft, let's partner with geo tracking companies and insurance companies to give a discount if you have a tracker on your car. You could voluntarily opt into this program. It would not be against anyone's right to privacy. I've seen this body act before to protect constitutional rights. I believe you guys wrote a resolution to protect and defend the Second Amendment. I ask that you guys do the same with our First and Fourth. Don't have flock cameras and any ICE-related contracts we need to get out of. If you're not watching the news, their tactics are they're against the First and Fourth Amendments. So thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing about it. I'd also like to point out, and I don't know if I have to ask for this, but like the flock contracts, these contracts aren't available online to read. Is there a way to get stuff like that online? My whole goal about everything I come up here and speak about is increasing public participation and awareness. So thank you.
Jessica Souter, 1
Can you take the microphone down closer to your...
Jessica Souter, 1203 Hillwood Court. I'm going to talk about flock cameras too. They're a dangerous nationwide mass surveillance infrastructure that has now expanded beyond the uses for what it was initially intended for. They're no longer just recording what a car is driving, where, and at what time. This data is now being used by ICE to search for recipients of an illegal abortion, plugged into data brokers, and creating an infrastructure of corporate blacklisting and surveillance. Flock cameras jeopardize your Fourth Amendment rights. Yes, they can be used to help police departments solve crimes, and that wouldn't be an issue, but unfortunately, not only is the information of criminals being captured, but also the privacy of each citizen just going about their daily lives. Flock allows police to sidestep warrants not only with your local PD, but also whoever they are sharing information with. Flock cameras are misused all of the time. They have been used in stalking, leaking login credentials to federal agencies. The data is not secured well, and numerous amateur individuals have been able to successfully hack into flock cameras and access their data. Beyond the issue of lack of security, Flock changes the rules on customers often and without notification of customers. This means the existing contract may be invalid without the customer even knowing. Most of the information captured is not used for criminal investigation and therefore puts the entire community's population at risk. This is made worse by the fact that the information rarely stays local. As a matter of fact, Flock is being used overseas. They're sending the information overseas. It's being looked at overseas. Flock also leads to surveillance of targeted groups. By where the cameras are installed, it can create a record of certain groups of community members more than others. So what happens when Flock makes a mistake? Taxpayers fund it. Any legal bills that are occurred, taxpayers fund. Flock continually lies about transparency because they claim the data belongs to the customer, but they are increasingly scrubbing information from the data that the public can access. In October of 2025, Ring announced that it would be now partnering with Flock. This data could be used to help solve crimes, but it can also be used to harass individuals that neighbors might have a disagreement with. In the end, this committee over the last year has done a great deal of damage to the community's trust with the data center and the 200 287G agreements from both the police and the jail. I don't personally feel that you have the trust of this community to use flock information without violating my right to privacy. I also now am trying to save my own data because 2 other companies in this area have compromised my data. I don't want my data out there anymore than we absolutely have to. And I don't want it out there when I'm just driving to and from where I need to be. I'm not committing crimes.
Is there anyone else who has some other issue they'd like to bring to our attention?
Hello.
We have
My
to
name's
state
Alex.
your name and address, please.
Yep, Alex LeBlanc, 5327 Brookswood Road, Crestwood, Kentucky. I'd also like to speak on the flock camera issue. If I repeat anything, I apologize. I just got here, had to come here from work. Maybe reiterate that I think there's a lot of people who would also like to see these meetings at a more opportune time for the public to participate, but I'll stick to flock for now. The biggest issue with flock, from what I can tell from the research I've done, and from how courts have ruled, is not just that it's a camera and you're in public and it captures where you are, is that it maintains that in a database that's accessible, as the lady before me was talking about, from a wide variety of places, right? That creates a very serious implication for our Fourth Amendment rights in this country. Pulled up a few examples that you could just find easily Googling. One of them was Thor Andrews Sr. from Redmond, Washington. This man was handcuffed in his own driveway by police because Flock Alert had flagged his car as being associated with his son who had a felony warrant. Now, the car was actually registered to Thor Andrews Sr., not his son, but the mistake still happened, right? So officers relied on the automated association hit instead of confirming the identity in the registration. Now, once they figured it out, he was released. But that's still an infringement on his Fourth Amendment right. Since then, his community of Redmond, Washington, has suspended the operation of its flock cameras. Second example, Lee Schmidt and Crystal Arrington in Norfolk, Virginia, have filed a lawsuit over the mass location tracking. So Norfolk's deployed a large flock ALPR network, and the plaintiffs, Lee Schmidt and Crystal Arrington, sued, arguing the city is conducting warrantless long-term tracking of drivers' movements, right? Now, the Supreme Court has established that to track people's movements requires a warrant. If you're going to dedicate resources long-term to track everywhere someone is going, you have to apply for a warrant to do that. In essence, flock cameras cut out that whole process and just do it automatically and then store that data in a cloud, a database somewhere, right? Maybe a data center, which we're not too fond of those around here. So far, this case is still going. In the first hearing, the court denied the city's motion to dismiss it, right? Because there is something there. There is a problem with these mass surveillance systems. Third example, Michael Moore, San Francisco, California, another class action lawsuit, this one under surveillance dragnet, right? Michael Moore's filed a federal class action challenge for SFPD's flock ALPR deployment, alleging it makes it effectively impossible to drive without being tracked and stored in the database. This one is, relying on the fact that, kind of what I just said, that flocks give law enforcement the ability to access and reconstruct your movements and whereabouts over the long term without a warrant or probable cause. This is also another Fourth Amendment case, still ongoing, right? So you see a pattern here of Fourth Amendment infringement with these flock camera systems. There's other examples off the top of my head where delivery drivers have been pulled over because as they're going about their day, say like as an Uber driver, driving their own personal vehicle, doing the...
Time's up here. Well, I think the court is willing to give you another minute. Does everybody agree?
More
All right,
time?
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I appreciate that. So I'll just wrap up real quick as saying...
Judge, we
with-
make a motion to give him one additional minute. Is that enough? Is one additional minute enough?
yeah.
I make a motion, we give him 1 minute.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. People just going about their everyday lives end up fitting one of these automated flock profiles for being, suspicious in their movements. This guy's just a delivery driver pulled over by the police. They're using the flock alerts as a probable cause. Now, I'm not saying our police forces, our sheriff's department will do that, but it is a pattern. Why would we use our tax money, the money of these citizens in this room, to build a mass surveillance system to track all their movements that has shown a repeated pattern of abuse and misuse and misunderstanding, really? So thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Arthur Blick in LaGrange. I will make this really quick. This technology, this flock technology is terrifying. They will make a dossier. They are doing that, and they can tell things you can't even imagine, like what the percentages are that you're at home right now. They cross-reference credit scores, everything else. This is a surveillance state, and you're giving them a green light and even paying for it. And it's like the Chinese surveillance state. This is the step. Who has access to this company's information? They're like a military contractor, and they are going to have all the lettered federal agencies all have access to this. They can, whether you see it in the small print or agree to it or not, they can buy, sell, and trade all your information to private corporations, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you might catch a car, responsibly that's creating a crime, but in a vast number of cases, they're being breached, they're being misused, they're even used for stalking. It goes on and on and on. And like he said, liability is one thing, tax paying is another. But basically, you're giving your rights away as a private citizen when you go this route. And if you sign a contract, it's going to be as hard to get out of it as it was to get into it. And I'm about done, but I will say this is, I've studied this a little bit, and this is such a large area of information that you could hold meetings separately on nothing but these flock cameras, and they could go on and on and on. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd say no one. I'm going to close this portion of the public comment, and we'll go on to the, I'm not going to really comment about flock cameras other than to say that I think some of these issues that have been brought up here today, I would say that I'm not aware of them, and I'm not sure if anybody else in our organization's aware of them. We do have a number of flock cameras on our entrance and egress points to the community. As it turned out, the very first day we had a flock camera up in Pewee Valley. In the evening, a driver struck and killed a person walking along the road. The police found red paint on the body of the deceased. The camera was activated, where our information was activated through flock, and the police had made an arrest of the hit-and-run driver within 2 hours. So that would happen on the very first day we had a flock camera underway here. So I guarantee everyone here there's certainly no intent on the part of anyone in our law enforcement agencies to abuse anything. If it's being abused somewhere in the country in some way, it's at least news to me. We do have these people that come out at night from somewhere and they hit subdivisions, check a lot of doors, a lot of handles, actually go right into your garage if they can find a remote for your garage door opener in a car. Things happen, and so we have, I believe, about 5 officers on every night countywide. Is that a correct number, Chief? 5. That we have a big territory for 5 people to cover, and we're doing the best we can to try to defeat these thieves that come out here, but we could use more law enforcement opportunity at night with the proper resources, but the cameras were purchased to help us. We get an alert if a stolen car comes in the county and where it is, and so that gives our officers a chance to at least have some opportunity to have a head start on combating that situation. It's not always effective because sometimes the thieves beat us. But and we don't have a high-speed pursuit policy for safety reasons, but we're working on it. But the information that's come forward here today, I don't think has never come to my attention before, and I believe there aren't any members of the court that have heard this either. But we will look into it and try to learn more about it. So I thank the individuals who came to let us know. Next item on our agenda is the clerk's 2026 bond approval. Amy Elvey is here.
Good afternoon. As required by KRS 62.055, that requires the fiscal court to examine and approve the bond that is required by me or required by the Department of Revenue for myself. In the amount of $100,000 for the bond amount. Fiscal court had already received the bill from Liberty Mutual, but it has to be in the record and approved by fiscal court, and then a copy of those minutes and the bond needs to go to Department of Revenue. So that's
Judge,
all
I'll
I'm
make the-
asking for.
Judge,
I'll
I'll
make
move
the
that we
motion.
approve the request for the $100,000 bond for Amy Alvey.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
The total is $400 and a $7.20 surcharge.
Correct. 40720. Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. All right. Sheriff bond approval. I believe Deputy Jim Quisto is here. The sheriff is out of town today, so.
I'm Chief Deputy Jim Acquisto, representing Sheriff Tim Wakefield, also requesting the court's approval for his bond as required by Kentucky statute. I do not have the amounts in front of me.
Make a motion, we approve the bond in the amount of $1,038 plus an $18.68 surcharge for a total of $1,056.68.
Second.
And the bond is for $325,000? 320. Okay. Yes, 325.
All right, and any discussion?
Got a question.
All in favor, please say, oops, go ahead, somebody have one?
The power of attorney, what does that cover for him? What is that? He gets that privilege because he's,
I would ask Mr. County Attorney to answer that question.
What are you referring to, Magistrate?
the power of attorney right underneath says sheriff's
Power of
bond.
attorney is for the Liberty Mutual. That gives their agent the authority to sign on behalf of Liberty Mutual.
Okay, not having to do, got it, thank you.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jim. County administration, the bills to pay.
Judge, I'll
Motion
make the
to pay
motion to pay the payables.
Second.
Any discussion on any item in the payables today? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now we're under community business, second reading of the public hearing of ordinance 25-920-1, data center regulations. Ryan Fisher. I didn't mention it earlier, but this is a draft replacing certain sections of the existing Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. After Mr. Fisher speaks, we'll open the floor here to comments from the public. We have a procedure to follow, but that doesn't, we're not the opponents here, but we'll allow 50 minutes for anyone, for the group to come forward and make recommendations if you so choose. I'll ask everybody to state their name and their address, or at least if you don't want to give your address, you affirm that you live in Oldham County. The public hearing is limited to people who live in Oldham County. Okay, go ahead.
All right, Judge and Magistrates, thank you for having me. As he stated, this is the second reading that will create a new section in our comprehensive zoning ordinance for data centers. It'll be section 250-340. You all have been provided copies of the proposed ordinance, as well as hopefully minutes from the Planning Commission hearing that took place back in October. So I'm going to be really brief with my presentation today. The first slide here I just want to talk about is the purpose and intent of the data center regs. Hopefully all of you all know why we're here and how we got to this place. So I just want to put that note to you that on page 1 it does talk about the purpose and intent of the regulation. And its intent, the regulations are established to define and control data centers and to minimize their impact on surrounding properties, ensure compatibility, and promote sustainable development. The intent is to, three things: protect adjacent land from adverse impacts such as visual light, noise, and air pollution, ensure compatibility with other adjacent land uses and existing regulations, and 3 is to provide proper notice to the community to promote engagement and transparency in the approval process. So I'll talk just real briefly about the process that this took. Unlike most ordinances that we ever bring before you all for zoning text amendments, this one has been going on quite a long time. As you can see, this started back on April 24th, 2025 with our first study review committee meeting. We went through 3 study review committee meetings. We were about done with that process, and we're going to take that to the Planning Commission, and Judge Vogel initiated a business and infrastructure development task force that had several members from the community on it. We met through that committee back in August and September, and finally on September 17th, they were ready to kind of push that along back to the study review committee. The study review committee met a few short days later back on September 25th and recommended that ordinance go to the Planning Commission. Here are your members of that infrastructure task force that served on that. I think most of you all know many of those individuals. I know many of them are in the crowd today. And then on October 28th, the Oldham County Planning Commission recommended approval of the zoning text amendment to move forward to the legislative bodies with various amendments. And you can see those in your minutes from that Planning Commission meeting. But overall, the entire motion passed 12-0 to push it to you all. So that's where we're at today. And then I'll just touch on a couple more slides. And one is, I know there's been a lot of talk about the zoning districts and where we're headed with that. So I do want to show this slide that as of right now, the regulation reads that data centers would only be allowed in the C4, I1, I2, and IPD zoning districts. There is a classification chart that is in your ordinance that shows that and shows different square footages and power capacity and things like that. Once again, that was determined through that entire process I just talked to you about, from the initial stages where we actually met with many individual groups, some of which are also here in the crowd today, and then as well as those steps that we follow all of the time as study review committee. We had that business and infrastructure task force. So this has really evolved over a long period of time. So I will say that to tell you this, and that's it. If you ask me a question today about, well, when was that changed in this ordinance, I am probably not going to be able to tell you when that occurred, because this is probably the 50th revision of this document. I can do really well at telling you what has changed from the Planning Commission, which you have in the minutes. So I will just say that to say, if you expect me to be able to tell you, well, when was that changed or taken out? That's a good question. So I'll show you this, and then I'll just show you a couple slides that show a couple maps to really talk about from the county-wide viewpoint of what we're talking about when we talk about C4, I1, I2, and IPD properties. This is a map of Oldham County. The orange on your map is the IPD. We only have one IPD section in this entire county, and that runs from the Commerce Parkway extension, cuts around Tri-County Ford, gets broken off at the Buckner Crossings PUD where Kroger is, and then picks back up at about the Natural Products place there on Commerce and runs all the way to about Interior Way. I think 2243 Commerce Parkway is about the cutoff of the IPD. The red on your map are all of the I2 zoned properties. So this map shows you the I2 and the IPD zoned properties in the county. The next map will show you those same things, but then incorporate the C4 and I1 related properties as well. There are 51 properties in Oldham County that have a C4 designation. So I know when you all hear zoning map amendments, you don't hear C4 very often. So just kind of give you an idea, there's about 197 parcels that are I1 industrial. There's about 175 that are I2, and there's about 105 total parcels that are in the IPD. So when you think of countywide, we're dealing with a very small portion of the county in regards to these four zoning districts. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
All right. Now we're going to, I think, open the floor to comments here from the public, and I'd ask you to stay in the front, Ryan, because I'm going to allow you to answer any clarifying questions that, or Anna can answer them, or whatever, that might come forward. Would everybody, as I say, it's a public hearing, we'll go on 50 minutes or so, and if anybody would like to speak, I'd ask you to speak your name and your address. There have been people that have complained about having to state their address before, so if you state your name and affirm that you live in Oldham County, that's fine. If you don't live in Oldham County, please don't come forward. This is an Oldham County issue. So everybody who would like to testify here today or speak, would you please stand and be sworn in?
Judge, while you're doing that, the county attorney may have some information that would be critical at this point if he's willing to share that now. And also earlier you said that this is changing the comprehensive plan, and it doesn't have anything to do with the comprehensive
Did
plan.
I say comprehensive?
Yeah.
Okay. I meant the ordinance.
Yeah.
No telling what comes out of my mouth sometimes. You know. All right, Barry, did you have something you wanted to?
Go ahead and get those people sworn.
All right. All right, you want to raise your right hands, please? And do you swear to tell the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I do. All right, please be seated.
Judge, when we had our last meeting and there was the first reading, there was I pointed the magistrates to, I think it's KRS 67077, that requires that that amendments that they want to make to an ordinance need to be put in writing. And a number of the magistrates have put concerns in writing, which I appreciate very much. It makes it a lot easier, I think, for everybody to understand what the viewpoints are of the various people who are the various magistrates. The one concern that came to light as as I was getting some of the suggestions, is some of the magistrates have requested that particular zones that Ryan went through. And Ryan, do you mind putting back up the slide that had the 4 zones on it, please?
That one.
Go back to the chart. There you were.
That one.
So at the top there are 4 zones that were recommended from the Planning Commission as a part of the draft ordinance that was sent to you all. My research indicates that stripping any one of those 4 zones out of this would result in a material change. So remember, this, we got to look at this through the lens of the fact that we're under a moratorium now, and the moratorium stays in place until such time as this body adopts regulations, okay? So if you remove any one of those, that would be a material change that, in my opinion, would require another first reading. The problem with that is that by operation of law in Chapter 100, the fiscal court has 90 days from the date, which was October 28th. They have 90 days from that date to adopt something. And if it is not adopted within that 90 days, by operation of law, what the Planning Commission recommended becomes the law in the county. So that puts us in a position where we are on a difficult time frame if there are going to be material changes made, which certainly that's up to the magistrates if they want to make a material change to what has been presented by the Planning Commission. If there is a material change, the best way to handle it, because I don't think we have time to have a first reading, a second reading, meet the publication requirements in between now and Monday night at midnight. In reality, what needs to happen is that the magistrates would need to vote, the court would need to vote to deny the approval of the ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission and send the proposed changes that the magistrates have back to the Planning Commission to go through the process again. We just don't have time to get it done. Now, if we were talking 6 weeks ago, these changes would be things that we could have a first reading on, a second reading on, do the publication, and adopt these changes. There would be no problem with that. The problem is our timing right now, because we are 6 days from when this becomes effective as an operation of law under Chapter 100. If you're basically left with 3 choices, 2 of which are bad. One is to approve what the Planning Commission sent you. 2 is to take no action, which means it becomes effective as a matter of law. Or 3 is for someone to make a motion not to approve this, and the matter goes back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. So I'm trying to give you the overview of this. Obviously, we need to have a public hearing. And depending on what the motions are, you've got to address those motions. But in my estimation, things like removing the IPD zone, and I don't remember the number that Ryan said, but there's a certain number of property owners, under the law, that would be a material change because it affects the rights of those property owners at the last minute, and we would need to have another first reading, a second reading, a public hearing, and then you all would vote on it. So, those are your options, and assuming that you want to strip some of those things out of the magistrates, agree to do that, then what needs to happen is it needs to be voted down and sent back to the Planning Commission.
Mr. Baxter, if I have a motion prepared, would it be appropriate to forego the public hearing and get right to the motion?
No. I'm going to rule you out of order there. That's a question for me and not him. We're going to go forward with a public hearing. We're not going to invite these people to come here and speak and not have a chance to be heard. So would any first speaker like to come forward, please? Anybody? Okay, well, I'm sorry. We did have a sign-up sheet out there. Okay, go ahead.
Bob Popick. Popek, sorry.
We'll ask everybody to speak into the microphone so you can be heard easily.
Good afternoon. Bob Popick, 1321 Judge Carden Boulevard, Crestwood, Kentucky, 40014. So I've been right in the thick of the this thing from the get-go. Obviously, I have a passion for two things, Oldham County, and I also have a passion for technology. And that's because of my experience, my skills, my history in the profession. We have an opportunity as a county to do something. Something that we have been concerned about because people went about it doing their own investigations, speaking a lot of things. Certain people became bad people, other people became saviors, and then so on and so forth. And we totally missed the point of communication throughout this whole saga. I am now involved with 2 other data centers wanting to be put in the country because I got asked to do this, and I must be somebody who enjoys misery, but I'm doing it, and because I have a passion for helping those people that need help in growing their communities in a very positive, prosperous way. And I know that technology can fit into the world of Oldham County, which is a beautiful county with wonderful things all about it. No denying that whatsoever. And we can meet in the middle, and we can deliver a solution that helps not only those of us who want to raise amounts of money, taxes that we need to do the right things for the county, roads, infrastructure, law enforcement, education, so on and so forth, and I could go on and on and on. I am not running for office, don't want that problem at all. But I am here to support this county. And before, I might have been too strong in how I came across because, again, that's just how I was built. So forgive me, Oldham County. But that being said, I'm here today to say I want to work together. And this is the opportunity. We put in the hard work at the task force. We got it to the Planning Commission. We went through the process. If we're thinking we need to delay this anymore, then we need a really good reason. And there's no good reason that I can think of. I think we can find a common good for data centers, light industrial, all the things that we need to do to make this county flourish even more so. And that being said, I'm here to support that effort, whatever that takes. I have not received $1 for doing what I do. I do it for the good of my heart. By the way, I was raised by a father who did the same thing in another community under similar circumstances, but a different technology at the time. And with that being said, I thank you.
Thank you.
Nathan Oberg.
Or 1414 Yeager Lane. I too enjoy technology. I fly an aircraft that weighs 375,000 pounds and it can land itself. And it requires 2 trained individuals to operate it. What we're talking about here is data center business. I like technology just as much as the next guy. We're talking about AI generative technology, and in particular, where that technology should go. Before us is a zoning issue. As the way this chart stands right now, there is small, medium, and large classification. By any reasonable measure, the large-scale, hyperscale data centers are heavy industrial applications. If you look at 50 megawatts and the amount of generators that it would take to support that, it's roughly 80,000 gallons of stored diesel fuel on site. This isn't a Walmart. This isn't a Lowe's. Welcome aboard. This is heavy industry. It needs to be placed where heavy industry goes. Second point being, it classifies large or hyperscale data centers in I2 heavy industrial. I agree with that point. We agree with that point. Your constituents agree with that point. Your constituents are also aware that the largest and heaviest use in an IPD is light industrial. Therein lies the problem. We can't have heavy industrial activity in a light industrial district. It doesn't work. And we open ourselves up for litigation here in Oldham County. Thank you very much. I urge you to vote no on this. Thank you for, Counselor, for your words. I think option 3 is the best option here. We should vote no on this. There needs to be more work done. And I appreciate Stephanie Hawkins' work. She put something out there on Facebook as far as the setbacks and how that would be measured. That was also appropriate. And I urge you to do the right thing. Vote no. We've all learned a lot here. We've got a little bit more to go. Another interesting point. We have 43 pages of ordinance on landscaping here in Oldham County. We have over 20 pages of ordinance for signage. Here in Oldham County, we know an awful lot about signs and landscaping. We have 9 pages of ordinance here for one of the largest projects this county and the United States has ever seen. This technology hasn't been around for very long. As a matter of fact, the hyperscale data centers started that classification in around 2023. Let's learn some more together. Let's get through this together and vote this no. Thank you.
Barry Laws.
Hi, Barry Laws, resident of Oldham County. I'm going to comment on the need to disallow hyperscale data centers from the IPD. And sorry to hear this might be just asking for you to say no on the whole thing. IPD districts are designed to foster a balanced employee-oriented environment. They want to attract light industry businesses, office spaces, business parks, and create a dynamic mix that supports a wide range of employment opportunities and encourages economic growth. That's an IPD. Hyperscale data centers, by contrast, are not employee-focused. Their massive facilities serve as data hubs. They're not workplaces and typically have very low job density. This means they don't bring in the same level of employment as light industrial or office tenants would. The core economic benefit of IPDs, employment and economic activity, is significantly reduced when these data centers are introduced into the area. The scale and intensity of a hyperscale data center is most similar to heavy industrial use. They require enormous amounts of electric power, substations, transmission lines, and extensive cooling systems. Now, this level of infrastructure intensity goes beyond what IPDs are equipped to handle without significant strain on the local utility infrastructure. So we need to also consider compatibility. Now, IPDs are meant to be places where businesses can thrive with a reasonable expectation of a harmonious environment. Hyperscale data centers bring large-scale generators, extensive backup fuel storage, and significant noise and visual impacts that are not consistent with the lighter, flexible nature of IPD uses. This can lead to conflicts, reduce the appeal of the district for other businesses, and ultimately harm the economic vitality of Oldham County IPDs. So this can lead to conflicts, reduce the appeal of the district for other businesses, and ultimately harm it. When we allow hyperscale data centers and IPDs, we essentially dedicate large portions of prime land to infrastructure that does not produce balanced economic benefits. Now, this can limit the potential for diverse, long-term, job-creating businesses that our IPDs are meant to support. One last consideration, Nathan mentioned it, is liability. Placing a heavy industrial hyperscale data center in a light industrial zoned IBD opens the county to lawsuits. To conclude, hyperscale data centers are in conflict with the intended use of IPDs. They belong in heavy industrial zones where their infrastructure demands, safety requirements, and utility needs are anticipated and planned for. By keeping them in heavy industrial zones, we ensure that our IPDs remain vibrant, employment-driven districts that support a diverse range of businesses and economic activities. So at this point, from what our attorney said, I would urge you to vote no on this. And I'm sorry, I was really excited about seeing something happen today. Thank you.
Mr. Blake, did you sign in? Okay. Can you confirm, because I thought you went by Copeland, but I think on here, does it say Arthur? Okay. How do you want me to reference you in the minutes? Okay, you can come forward.
I'll be very brief. With what the lawyer has said, I think if we're going to get this done right, and I so respect everybody's intelligence and hard work on these regulations. If it's going to take a little bit of time to actually do this correctly, then I again think that no is definitely the best way to go, because I think that the time factor is outweighed by the ability to make sure that it's done correctly. Thank you.
Stuart Robinson.
My name is Dr. Stuart Robinson. I'm an Oldham County resident. I've lived here 45 years. Can everybody hear me?
No.
Damn. I'm going to eat this microphone. I've lived in this county 45 years. It's a gorgeous county. My concern here isn't about industry. It's not about it's not about all data centers. It's about hypercapacity data centers. My career before I retired was 50 years in the high power, high energy, high temperature metallurgical industries. I'm not here as an expert on data centers, but I am an expert on high power, high energy, high temperature industrial facilities. Hyper data centers, hypercapacity data centers are high intensity, heavy industry. They're 50 megawatts up to 450 megawatt facilities. Now, most people have no concept of what megawatts are all about. Okay? The car that you drove here today has a power rating of between 150 and 250 horsepower. Horsepower is just a measure of power. Megawatts are just a measure of power, and you can convert between them. Okay? A 150 megawatt car is about 12 horsepower. Okay? It is about 12 kilowatts. Kilowatts and megawatts are just measures of power. A megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts. It's 1,000 times bigger. Your home appliances in your house are measured in kilowatts. A house has a power capacity of about 11 or 12 kilowatts. That's a tenth of a megawatt. It's small. It's a hundredth of a megawatt. It's small. It's not high power. High power are things like nuclear submarines, which has a propulsive power of about 30 megawatts. Here we're talking about facilities with 100 megawatts, 3 times the power of a nuclear submarine. The biggest jet engine you can buy, commercial jet engine, is about 80 megawatts. We're talking about 100 megawatt and above for these data centers. They're not light industry. They're very, very heavy industrial facilities. They're manufacturers. They don't manufacture a physical product, but they manufacture information and reports, which they sell to their customers. So they are a manufacturing facility, and they need to be regulated as very heavy industrial facilities. They have to have on-site power generation in the event of power grid failures, which means that a 100 megawatt facility has to have 100 megawatts of generating capacity on site. It's not just the storage of the diesel fuel that you need for that. It's getting it to and from the facility. And if you do the calculations, you're not talking about 1 or 2 truckloads per day. You're talking about multiple truckloads per day. These facilities, and I'm specifically talking about hypercapacity data centers, don't belong in residential areas. They don't belong in public areas. They don't belong near schools. They don't belong near conservation areas, and so on. They need to be regulated as heavy industry. And if light industry is allowed in those IPD 1-2 IPD areas, that's not right. I don't have any problem with smaller scale facilities. 5 megawatts is neither here nor there, but 50 megawatts and above is a huge amount of energy. That's about all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica Souter. She passed. Jerry Oberg. Okay. Elaine Tischendorf.
I'm Elaine Tischendorf, 1153 Canterbury Way, LaGrange. My main concern with all of this is the size, as we've just heard many people speak on, but also the ecology that is involved. And that is something I haven't heard much about at all. I understand that there are data centers who can recycle water and do various things to try to cut down on how we are ruining our ecology. And I would like to see this group do more to bring in people who understand that, who understand how it works, who understands what can happen with these mega facilities. I would like to see that whole idea squelched. So I ask you to vote no on this today. And I also ask that we bring in people who have the understanding of what is needed to protect in the best way the ecology that is good, that is here, and not come in and ruin things for us. Thank you very much.
Amanda Dreckman.
Amanda Dreckman, Crestwood, Kentucky. Please keep in mind, I wrote these comments before I knew about the time constraint, so there may be a few things that don't apply. In my email to all of you last week, I discussed changes and additions that need to be made to the regulations that Planning and Zoning approved, or the Planning Commission. It included many articles that supported my comments. I want to reiterate that clear, specific, stringent regulations are needed to protect residents, wild and domestic animals, and the environment. Concerning specific regulations, there should be periodic monitoring of all frequencies of sound throughout the life of the data center and in all seasons, not just at pre- and post-construction. Weather conditions affect the distance and direction that sound travels. Different sound frequencies have various negative impacts on humans and on wild and domestic animals. In addition, mitigating low-frequency noise requires special sound barriers. The setback for both schools and residential zoned or used land should be a minimum of 1,500 feet because children need protection from the noise, emissions, and EMFs associated with data centers while they are at school and while they are in their yards and homes. Similarly, the minimum required distance for notification of neighborhood meetings and mailed notices should be at least 2,000 feet. A distance of only 500 feet is inadequate, since noise from construction and data center equipment and emissions can travel many thousands of feet. Emissions can travel even miles. Under environment on page 8 of the regulations, environmentally sensitive areas should include karst topography, not just springs, since sinkholes can make groundwater vulnerable to contamination from the surface. Also, data centers should be prohibited where they may cause harm or death to threatened or endangered species. Treatment and/or filtration of wastewater from the routine bleeding of chemically treated water in closed-loop cooling systems should be specified in the regulations. When this treated water leaves the site, it can carry nitrate or nitrite, glycol, and heavy metals at thousands of times the limit set for surface waters. This was from an article titled Closed Loop Cooling, Water Saver or Chemical Time Bomb. I now ask you to consider the bigger picture. AI-focused and cryptocurrency data centers are significantly more power-intensive than traditional ones, such as cloud storage. One source said that one large AI-focused data center can consume as much power as 100,000 homes. Fiscal Court needs to consider whether data centers with massive electricity demands should be allowed in Oldham County. They could overwhelm the power grid, as discussed in the article titled, Data Centers Are Overwhelming Power Grids Worldwide. Please consider this. These potential environmental and/or health hazards are commonly found in or around data centers. Various types of batteries, e-waste, industrial cleaning chemicals, fire suppressants, oils, diesel fuel, water treatment chemicals, and forever chemicals used on computer equipment. The larger the data center, the larger the quantity of these potential hazards. All must be used and disposed of properly to protect people and the environment. Large and hyperscale centers are heavy industry and they do not belong in IPD zoning. I strongly believe that because of their history of negative impacts on other communities, there is no appropriate place in Oldham County for large or hyperscale data centers. Mr. Fisher has said that barrel houses were regulated out of existence. This could and should be the case with large and hyperscale data centers. Regulations somehow need to limit the number as well as the size of data centers in the county. I know there is limited space in the current zoning, but it's my understanding they can ask for a zoning change. For example, requiring the use of Tier 4 backup generators should reduce emissions. However, if there are numerous large data centers with numerous large diesel backup generators, air quality in the area would likely be lowered, especially downwind. Regulations should include air quality monitoring unless already required by state or federal regulations. Several articles I included to support the comments in my email demonstrate that data center operators and big tech have not always done what is best for residents and the environment. One was titled, Data Center Emissions Probably 662% Higher Than Big Tech Claims. Can it keep up the ruse? The many potential negative impacts of data centers make it apparent that clear, specific, stringent regulations are necessary to protect Oldham County human and animal residents. I firmly believe that more changes and additions need to be made to the regulations. Technology is advancing quickly, and hopefully data centers will be more community and environmentally friendly in the near future. In the meantime, Fiscal Court needs to take the time now, send it back to planning, and do whatever is necessary to get the regulations right, so we don't have to have regrets in the future. So please send this back to planning and zoning. Thank you.
Dana Rich.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dana Rich. I do live in the Echo Valley area of LaGrange, Kentucky. Wow, kind of got my thunder stolen a little bit. I don't know if anybody else did with the news that Mr. Baxter presented to us today. I am under oath. While I am not accusing anybody of any nefarious activity, I will say that it's very suspicious that it has come to light right now. And I have serious concerns with that the day of this meeting, the day that we are coming in to make some final decisions and finally get this behind us, that this has now been put in front of us as a brand new obstacle. We've been fighting obstacles for nearly a year now since we first got here and we first heard the phrase hyperscale data center for the first time. I will not speak for anybody else, but I will tell you that regardless of what you all choose to do today, I will continue to come to these meetings and I will continue to advocate for the health, the safety, and the welfare of every single person of Oldham County, as well as their children and their children's children. If we do not remove hyperscale data centers from IPD, then, as others have mentioned, the county could very likely be open to lawsuits for placing a heavy industrial data center illegally where it is not zoned to be, because it would be a non-conforming use. We have a few data centers here that serve specific companies and industries. I think we can all agree that what we're talking about is not those data centers. This is not AT&T. This is not Baptist. This is not some supposedly super secret bunker in Buckner that's doing work that we don't know about. Quite frankly, those buildings do what they do. Those are industries or data centers that serve specific industries. Please make no mistake that that is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about the use of data centers and placing data centers where it is inappropriate, which is the IPD zone. I am urging all of you that, while we know that these are not the same as the hyperscale data centers, and while we know that they are coming, whether we like them or not, we still have a unique opportunity to get this right, and we need to do that now. So if our options, as Mr. Baxter has stated, are to do nothing, approve what's already in there, or to deny it and send it back to the Planning Commission, I firmly believe that we need to have this denied today, and this needs to go back to the Planning Commission. I feel like I got a bombshell dropped on me today. I don't like it. I know I've already said that. My notes are a little jumbled, so bear with me. There is no option in my mind at this point but to deny this in its entirety and send it back. If we are going to protect generations beyond us, beyond those of us making these decisions today, then we need to get it right, and we need to do that beginning today. I'm sorry that this level of, whether it's ignorance, some type of nefarious, I don't know, and I'm not here to speculate. I'm certainly not an attorney. I'm sorry that each of you has been put into this position. I truly am. I don't like it. I don't think you like it either. I, quite frankly, am glad that I'm not sitting up there and having to come up with this today. This is not something that you all deserve, but I do feel like it is super important that we need to get this right. The only right answer is to send this back and challenge those that have been appointed to their roles to get it right for us, bring us something that we can all support as a county. Thank you.
Jamie Hilligans. Michael Duncan. That's everyone that signed in. If there's anyone that likes to speak. Judge, how do you want to proceed?
Let's let those who haven't spoke, or you have just a second, or do you have? Okay, go ahead.
I forgot to raise one item. There is a legal thing in the wording in the document. These facilities are not energy facilities, they're power facilities. And in the description you've got for these facilities, you word it as energy at 50 megawatts. Energy isn't measured in megawatts, it's measured in megawatt hours. There's a big difference between power and energy. These are power facilities. We don't have energy plants. We don't have energy plants. We have power plants. It needs to be worded as power plants, not energy plants. Okay? It's legal. If it was ever disputed in a court of law, it couldn't be defended because it's been defined improperly.
All right, thank you. All right, was there someone else who stood up in the back there? Okay, go ahead. Were you sworn in?
Yes.
Okay. Your name, please, and address.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Robert Helen, and I live in Crestwood. All right, I wanted to start off with echoing the frequency aspect. If I could put you in a room and put you in a state of fear with just frequency alone, imagine what a hyperscale can do to the wildlife and to the people surrounding it. I don't think that we truly can handle that within our community. And if you're not aware of frequency, you might want to do some more research into it. You do not want Oldham County to be known to have one installed. That's not a badge of honor. At this scale of a hyperscale, it does not belong in Oldham County. I want to clarify something right out the gate, because it's important for the record and for the public listening tonight. This proposal does not ban data centers. It addresses hyperscale data centers, which are fundamentally different in size, impact, and infrastructure demand. What are we asking for is simple and legally sound. Hyperscale data centers should be removed from IPD zoning because they are heavily industrial uses and belong in I2 zoning. IPD zoning was never intended to accommodate facilities of this scale. Hyperscale data centers operate at an entirely different level of intensity, electrical demand, water usage, cooling infrastructure, backup generation, and land consumption, which we've heard multiple times through multiple people's discussion and different expertise trying to explain this. To put this in real terms, the most recent proposal along Highway 53 involved 8 separate buildings, each 5 acres in size. That is not light or flexible development. That is industrial scale infrastructure with permanent impacts. If I'm incorrect, my apologies. Medium and small data centers are not the issue here. Those can fit appropriately within IPD zoning. Hyperscale facilities do not. This distinction matters because zoning is about compatibility, not convenience. When we blur the lines between industrial classifications, we expose surroundings areas to infrastructure strain, environmental stress, and the land use conflicts that IPD zoning was never designed to absorb. If a project requires I2 level utilities, I2 level buffers, and I2 level mitigation, then it belongs in I2 zoning. Anything else is a workaround, and workarounds become precedents. We are here to enforce zoning as written and as intended, not to stretch it until it breaks. This proposal restores clarity, protects future boards, and ensures that development occurs where it belongs, not wherever it can be made to fit. It is reasonable, it is responsible, and it is long overdue. Thank you.
Sir, is your last name spelled Holland? Hellin. Sorry. If you could just speak clearly when stating your name, since you all didn't sign in, that would be helpful.
My name is Karen Grant. I live in the Granville neighborhood. My first fiscal meeting was the last one that took place. I was nervous then, and I am nervous again today. So I've got brief notes. So you should hopefully at least be relieved of that as you listen to me try to overcome my nerves here. I took off of work to be here, so this is important. It's important to everyone in this county. Hyperscale data centers have no place in Oldham County. That's the long and short of it. Literally, there is no zone in Oldham County that fits hyperscale data usage. No one wants to live near one. No one wants to try and buy a house near one. I certainly don't think that anybody wants their house to be something that they can't sell because they are the unfortunate person who got to be near one. I don't want our kids going to school that's near one, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And you know the many hazards. I know that you must know because you surely wouldn't vote on something this important unless you knew of all the implications, all the hazards, all the downstream issues that come from this type of facility being in our community. And moreover, we know that you know what these hazards are. And so I promise short and sweet, and so here we are to the end of it. You have the opportunity to stop this right now, and I implore you and hope that you will do so. Thank you.
Elizabeth Englert, 5400 Old Sligo Road, LaGrange, Kentucky. I feel as a country we are losing faith in our institutions, in our elected officials, and in many things that we have always held dear. I know you are probably up there to represent the people who live in your district, and that you wouldn't be up there unless you cared about those people in your district. I don't know if you can put up a good argument that this will improve our utility bills, our water bills, our general quality of life to have a hyperscale data center in Oldham County. I don't know that you can say that it will improve our health, our children's health, or make this a greater place to live in another 20 years. From what I've read of data centers, they actually do have a limited lifespan, and it is the financial imperative of those owning and investing in data centers to move on and leave the communities with whatever wreckage toxic chemicals are left. I beg you to turn down hyperscale data centers in those classifications. Look this over, make sure you do it right. You're there to look at us and see what we need, and what we don't need is things that endanger the community and endanger a quality of life, property values, and health. Thank you.
Hi, Amy Wellborn. I live in LaGrange. Like many who spoke before me, I'm really disappointed. Today's not the day that we get to seal the deal on this moratorium and get this ordinance in place. I support everything that was said on getting it right, and that we need to make some amendments to what's actually written. So I support that we actually make the motion to send this back to planning and zoning with the specifics that we remove IPD from a large scale in the zoning table. That's number one. Number two, that we clarify the language that the 1,500 feet setback is measured from the property line, not from the buildings or any other equipment. And number three, that we make any other clarification amendments that the magistrates would like changed that's specified when they make the motion to send this back to planning and zoning. That's that on that part. I would like to say, making ordinances has been a learning curve for a lot of us. And I'm sure I appreciate what the magistrates have to learn to be able to do your job up there. Watching some of it in previous meetings, I think even the planning commission gets sworn in when they get up to speak, and I didn't see that happen today. The other thing is that it normally gets voted when you go to public expression under oath, and I didn't see anybody vote on that. So I just wanted to point those little things out that are like crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I'm just trying to understand when we follow rules and when we don't.
That is our standing order of how we do hearings here. There was no violation of that. We don't vote to go to a hearing. It's part of the administrative process when we have a public hearing. If we have an ordinance, we have a hearing. So we don't have to vote whether or not we're going to have a hearing.
To go to public expression. Okay.
Pardon?
I was just something I understood, but maybe I was wrong.
You were wrong.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you. So once again, I would just ask that when you make the motion that you would include those details to send it back. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? All right, if there's no one else, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll allow the magistrates now to ask questions of Ryan Fisher or anybody. If magistrates would like to ask any clarification of anybody who came to spoke. I think we heard a lot of people say that we need to send it back to have additional points made. I think getting the data hyper center out of IPD was the main one. I think there was a clarification on the where the property line, the building, but I'm not sure if if you said the building has to be, or the property line has to be 1,500 feet from somebody else's building outside the property line. Could the data center build their building 20 feet off the property line? There's some question I have in regard to that. And in other words, what is the size of the building? Where is it going to go? A small building would have to have a large lot to get 1,500 feet away from someone. But I would like to say, just to begin the conversation here, that I personally, as your county judge, I said it, no one believed me, and they dispute I even said it. I don't think there's any place where a hyper data center would fit in Oldham County, period. There never has been. We just don't have the space here. We've got a very limited amount of space. Other than KSR, what happens when they decommission the prison? I don't know. At one time they were going to turn that over to the county, that property. We haven't heard much about that in the last 18 months. If the state decided they wanted to let a data center in there, I'm not sure there's anything we can do to stop it, frankly. It's their property, and our own planning and zoning wouldn't apply there. Now, I will say I firmly believe the state would like an auto plant there. They'd like to have 800 or 1,000 employees working there. If that happens, and you know, Trump's trying to bring back a lot of auto plants from other places in the world. If that happens, you can look for a rail spur on Highway 146 because they're going to reactivate that train connection to any kind of large manufacturing there. But that is just, you know, disappointing things come with, you know, everything, it seems like. But a question I've had all along, and I want to show a couple of slides here that I have. Could you pull up, let's just see, grab one here. My question is, what is the definition of a hyper data center? We've got in here 100,000 square feet. Over in Simpsonville, the building right here in the middle where the arrow is coming down is slightly more than 100,000 square feet. It's 102,000 square feet. It's the Eaton Data Center in Simpsonville. It's right along Highway 64 there. It's quiet. Believe it or not, the diesel engines that operate this data center are actually inside the building. You know, something like that is very non-offensive in Simpsonville, but it would classify right now as a hyper data center in Oldham County. It's quiet. You walk by there, you don't see anything. There's no fencing there. It's just it looks like an office building, but it's a nice-looking building. So there are go to the next slide there. Here's another question I have. Over on the this side here, you sort of see a bright-looking building. It's this one, right there, okay? That's the Humana Data Center in Simpsonville. It's in an industrial park. It's 972 feet from West Shelby Elementary School. Now, you know, there may be issues there that we've never heard of, but maybe there aren't. I don't know. I know we want 1,500 feet from any school. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm just concerned that a certain amount of, you know, fear of what this could be is causing us to overreact to a point. There are things, I think a couple of speakers have said, there are smaller data center. It doesn't have to be a gigantic operation. It can be something reasonable that could fit in our community somewhere. And so it's just, what is a hyper data center has been one of my concerns. I just felt what we've got here is a little too small, frankly. What they were going to put on Commerce Parkway was 150,000 square feet. It would have fit there. They were going to do 2 buildings. We have a building over in Buckner that would have fit 3 of those buildings in there. That's 500 and some thousand square feet. The Winland Foods building there. So, you know, I don't think there's a place in Oldham County for a hyper data center. You know. Unless the federal government changes the rules and it goes in your backyard, Nate, again, against your goodwill and or against your wishes. It has to have a power line cross there. Getting these power lines out to places where they don't have them now is a tall order. There's apparently a lot of places in Kentucky they could go besides Oldham County. So we're very limited on what we could even do here, if anything were to happen. And I'm more concerned about people getting the message that our community is, you know, can be hostile to any kind of business. We don't want that. We've got this new thing going down on Commerce Parkway, 230,000 square foot buildings. A building is going to be 400,000 square feet. Wow. You know, but yet nobody's talking about decommissioning those buildings or any other building in our county. When Walmart out here in LaGrange is 200,000 square feet. Nobody said when they built that, well, if Walmart closes, let's knock it down. No, we assume something else will go in there and use that property. So I'm okay with going back and talking more about this. I mean, let's all get it right. We're neighbors. We have to work together. We've had a lot of accusations of fly around and insinuations about the people and their attitudes and ideas. We can all we can agree to disagree, or we can all, hopefully all agree to something here without undermining anybody else's credibility or goodwill. So, that's about what I have to say about it. The only other thing I really had to talk, the reason this came up at the last minute is that the magistrates have come forward more or less at the last minute with a number of substantial changes. Barry and I talked about it this morning. He said, I think these changes are too much to try to digest at this meeting without having a substantive change. And, we should go back to the Planning Commission and let them hear more people, work this out a little more. We don't want to put it back on them either. We wish this could all be solved and everybody be happy, frankly. We'd all like to get past it, get to be friends again in our community and not seen as opponents. Brent, do you have something?
Thank you, Judge. I've got 5 proposals here, one from Logston, Hounds, Hawkins, Woosley, maybe just 4.
You got one from me, too.
4. But my question is this: if we send this back to Planning and Zoning, where does that leave us? Where do we go? I mean, we're in limbo until what happens.
Well, we've got the
exactly.
moratorium in place, so
I would like to ask
no one's going to build anything, and frankly, no one's coming here. There's no indication. The only regional indication I've had is Trimble County has got some interest over there.
But I would like to ask our county attorney if he would maybe explain to us what you just said. We go back to the moratorium.
Well, we stay on it. We're in place until Planning Commission regulations are passed, or until new ordinance regulations are passed.
We're still under the moratorium until the regulations are updated.
Right.
Thank you.
Would it be appropriate to have a motion on this before we discuss it?
Sure.
I think Magistrate
Judge?
Hawkins is ready for a motion.
You want to make a motion?
Judge, I'd like to make a motion that this body deny ordinance number KOC 26-920-1 as presented for the purpose of sending changes that members of this body wish to see as part of this ordinance back to the Oldham County Planning Commission for reconsideration, and also due to those changes being material significant enough in nature that the proposed ordinance would require another first reading.
Second.
Okay. Magistrate Jeffries.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. I mean, we're going to send it back and just let the body, the Planning Commission, look at it again and consider, those recommendations that the 3 magistrates have suggested. But that's not, or 4 magistrates, I'm sorry.
Plus the judge.
Has suggested, but we're not telling them what they've got to do or what they've got to consider. I mean, it's going to be up to that body to then send it back to us for a first reading again. Okay, I can support that.
Yes. Okay.
Somebody down here?
I second it.
Pardon? Okay. Magistrate Hounds.
Whatever.
So the documents that we all put together, do those documents then go for consideration to the Planning Commission? I'm just trying to understand the process because it still doesn't.
I think they will informally go to the Planning Commission. Different people have different ideas they came forward with here, unless we want to discuss each one here. But I would suggest that each magistrate forward to the planning director the suggestions of improvement or the things to be reconsidered, and let the Planning Commission take it. I know my planning people here have, they're not smiling. They have folks, this has been a crawling over broken glass for a year. It's been very, very difficult on our people, and we want this to come out right for everyone. And we understand the hyper thing. It jumped in the wrong place, but we tried to move it somewhere else. And honestly, we tried to salvage it for the money that would come to our community. A lot of money could have been gotten on Commerce Parkway that we didn't get. Now, maybe nobody wants a full-time fireman or $6 million a year for the school. There was a lot of reasons I thought it was worth trying to have. We never wanted it out on the end of Highway 53. It landed there. We were caught flat-footed. We didn't know what data centers were about, but we tried to get up to speed, but the community got out in front of us before we could even really totally understand this. But let's all back up, try to get it right. I don't know as though there's major changes to be made, but I hear the IPD thing. Okay, well, it wouldn't fit there. Nobody want to put, you can't jam 6 buildings in there. 2 was the most they could get, shoehorning that in, and whether or not the state does something with KSR, I mean, that's going to be above our pay grade, I'm afraid, if that time comes. So, Bob, did you have something you wanted to say? No. Oh, okay. Magistrate Woosley.
My first question was to make sure that our comments made it through to planning and zoning. I've included a decommissioning section in mine because I felt that was important, that the developer be responsible for decommissioning any buildings that are left behind once this technology's been outdated. But I also want to make sure that we include Dr. Robinson's comments about the difference between what energy means and what power means. So I want to make sure that his paper that I believe he provided you, Holly, is also included with planning and zoning comments.
Magistrate Woosley, Jeffries.
Yeah, I want to make sure that, I think the way Magistrate Stephanie, I think if you would just restate your motion again, because I don't think that's exactly what the motion was, or what your motion was that was seconded by Magistrate Woosley. So
Okay.
if you would. Just
Ready
read it
for that
again.
right now, Judge?
The only
Okay,
difference
go.
was including Dr. Robinson's comments instead of the comments from magistrates, what is what she said.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll restate it. The motion is, I said, Judge, I'd like to make a motion that this body deny ordinance number KOC 26-920-1 as presented for the purpose of sending changes that members of this body wish to see as part of this ordinance back to the Oldham County Planning Commission for reconsideration, and also due to those changes being materially significant enough in nature that the proposed ordinance would require another first reading.
Right, and I just want to make sure that we understand that we're not tying the hands of the, planning commission or whatever with that language. I mean, I'm comfortable with that language, but I don't want to, say, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, or whatever, and I don't think your motion does that.
Okay.
So I can support that.
I would have asked for the county attorney, I agree with what you're trying to say, and let's make sure that we're all on the same page and that the county attorney agrees with that we're not tying the hands of the planning commission.
The only thing I would want to make sure, your proposal, Magistrate Woosley's proposal, Magistrate Hawkins, the judge's comments, and somebody else.
Logston.
And Magistrate Logston's comments are in the record, right? You have them, and they are going to be included in the record. So that record needs to be transmitted, I think, to the planning commission.
Right, what I'd like to come out of here with, make sure we're all on the same page, okay? We've had a number of people come up and say, send it back to the planning commission, refine the thing, rework it, but a lot of the suggestions were vague. Let's be specific on what the objections are beyond IPD, the heavy data centers being in the IP, IP, is it 1, District 1, light industrial?
I want to.
All right,
I want
everybody's
it.
feel, that's kind of people want them out of that, okay? The next thing is, what else? How far from the property line can you, from somebody else's property, you want 1,000 or 1,500 feet? I think we got 1,500 from property line, 1,500 from a school. Okay, Nate, what is it? Come to the front.
Judge, I can read mine if you want to know them.
I can read mine too.
Testing. I believe the magistrates should really talk about their changes for the record. In particular, if we're talking about setbacks, the setbacks should be measured from the property boundary. That's the way that setbacks are measured. That was my point. And I would Magistrate Hawkins had a variety of changes, and I think the public should hear those, and they're entitled to hear those changes.
Wouldn't they be heard at the planning commission? That's not the purpose of the fiscal court. Those items should be heard in front of the planning commission.
I agree.
Right,
I think that the information that we have, to Mr. Baxter's point, that can be submitted in the record, it can be given to the planning commission. We're going to hash this out 17 times. Take it to the planning commission. That's where it should start.
I agree.
Okay. Measure ties.
We can take it to the planning commission, but if we send it back to them, they got to have some definitive idea of what we expect them to do. My question, if I was sitting on planning and zoning, I would say, well, what do they want us to do? We've done what we thought was right or what we agreed upon. So then you got to tell us what you want. Or else, since we're the highest ranking body, we have to roll our sleeves up and we have to decide on what we want. So it's either way. I don't care what it is, but I'm saying if it goes back, it's got to go back for a clear understanding that they can come forward. And they may choose at that point to say, we've done the best we can, it's back to you. And I think they could, or can they do that, Attorney Barry?
They could absolutely do that. And the other,
A little louder.
they could absolutely do that. The other point is you're sending back to them 5 different requests. If you all sent them back if you dictated to them one thing that you wanted, not one item, but one
page with all
one page, whatever, of what it ought to be, then they are on the clock, actually. Then they have 60 days to adopt what you have sent them. Under this circumstance, you've got, Magistrate Hound said one thing, Magistrate Woosley said another thing. They got to cull through that and decide which of those things, if any of them, they're going to incorporate into what they already did and send it back to you.
With the documents we have in front of us, though, today, it's not organized enough to where we can have that conversation.
I agree.
Because it's all over the place.
Well, can we, Magistrate Woosley?
Can we have a working group amongst magistrates to come up with a single document that therefore we can approve and send on to planning and zoning that we can get for the next meeting?
Well, we'd have to bring it back to this body.
I know. We can meet, bring it back to this next meeting, approve it, and then send it on to planning and zoning from there. That way we can all agree on what changes at least we'd like to see in a single document.
All right, Magistrate Jeffries.
I don't think I could support that. I mean, let planning and zoning do their job, and we've got the documents that the 4 magistrates have submitted with suggested changes, and let them, take that document and go through it, and if they see fit to make changes, then let them do that, and then send it back to us as the legislative body to make those final changes. But I think it's, I wouldn't be comfortable with a working group of us sending it to them, and then, I just think that's is problematic.
So what happens if we go back and forth on this for 6 months?
If we do,
we're still under the moratorium.
Where we are.
We're still under the umbrella of the moratorium.
Eventually, we need to put this to bed.
I agree.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I think what Mr. Baxter said, it's going to go, all 5 of these documents are going to go back to the Planning Commission. So I think that pretty much spells out. They're very repetitive if you've had an opportunity to read them, which I know you haven't. A lot of repetition between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But the whole thing is, I can tell you from what I said, everybody said about the hyperscale, it's all in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? But what I want to clear up is they're going to get this from us. Y'all are going to have to come, this is your opportunity. I guess this is your second bite of the apple. If there's something in there that you maybe missed first time around, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but if we're sending stuff back that you all agreed with, that it should go back, which I think that alone is us and you all agreeing the way things have been going lately. I think that's a great, we made great strides. We're on the same page today. If y'all got something else y'all need to say, other than that, make sure you're in the meeting or send that to the planning commission. I'm not saying trying to reinvent the wheel. We've got the wheel just about right. Let's just push it a little harder, and next time we meet, you won't be 20 people getting up here and saying we ought to change this and that. We'll have it done the right time. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we've been trying to do all along. So I think the way the motion's written and the way it's been seconded, I think it's ready to go.
I call for question.
You can't in a public hearing.
Hearing's over.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. We can call for the question. Holly will take a vote on whether or not we're going to stop discussion.
That takes 2/3 vote. 6 would have to vote in favor. It takes 2/3.
Okay.
Yes.
To stop debate.
What did you say?
It takes 2/3 of the body to, to do that, to move forward. So, to end
This
debate.
is to stop debate.
End of the discussion.
Correct. So
We're not voting on the motion, we're stopping debate.
Correct.
I understand. Thank you. No, this is just stopping.
Magistrate Hounds,
Yes.
Magistrate Dye,
Yes.
Magistrate Logsdon,
Yes.
Magistrate Tice,
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley,
Yes.
Magistrate Jeffries,
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins,
Yes.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Judge Vogel.
Yes. All right, we'll stop talking about it here. Okay. One of the issues why we can't figure this out today is that we've got a number of people have submitted suggestions, okay? But their suggestions are, like a box of, I mean, they're in a different format, somebody made a copy of this, somebody underlined that, cross this word out here. It's not in a format that we can look down 15 items
Question.
and actually go one by one and clarify, do we want to send this back or do we want? I mean, I've got one here. I said eliminate the thing about the,
We're going to stop talking about it or not stop talking
I
about
know.
it?
Yeah, we are.
I think we
stopped the
voted on
debate.
calling for the question.
eliminate the FAA. Why do we need to have an FAA designation? We're not dealing with FAA airports here. If the FAA wants to regulate, have some requirement for a
Judge,
data center, let them bring it up.
Judge, point of order,
Judge,
we
point-
do need,
I know, all right, come on now.
Magistrate Hawkins, will you repeat
All right.
that ordinance one more time for Magistrate Tice?
All right.
The ordinance or the motion?
We already know
The motion?
what it is.
The motion,
It's written down.
Okay. Sure, are you ready? I'd like to make a motion that this body deny ordinance number KOC 26-920-1 as presented for the purpose of sending changes that members of this body wish to see as part of this ordinance back to the Oldham County Planning Commission for reconsideration, and also due to those changes being materially significant enough in nature that the proposed ordinance would require another first reading.
Second.
And I want to make how do I amend that motion now?
Question again.
I ask for an amendment to your motion that every magistrate submit to my office a typewritten form with exactly the wording you want, not the hodgepodge of what we've got here in front of us today, copied this and pasted that or whatever.
Mine's 1, 2, 3,
You give
4.
us give us the exact wording of each section you want with the changes you want in red lines. Okay?
I'm
And then
not
we'll have something to submit, or we're going to give them a shoebox full of things and tell them to figure it out.
I'm not going to include that in my motion,
You
Judge.
need to
Well, I'm
question
going to
again.
vote no on you.
Okay. I think
What
the
we've got here is
planning
a
commission
stupid operation.
is smart enough to take all 5 of our stacks here and figure it
No,
out.
they're not. Quit pushing the work onto everybody else.
Debate
Do the
ended
work
about 5
yourself
minutes
instead of
ago.
being lazy.
Excuse me?
I said, do the work yourself instead of being lazy,
I don't-
pushing it on
that
our
is
planning staff.
completely inappropriate,
Well,
Judge. Completely
I don't care whether you think it is or
inappropriate.
not.
No, you need to stand down.
No, you need to stand down.
Debate ended a long time ago,
Sheriff?
guys.
No, Sheriff, you want to leave?
Judge, let's take a vote.
Come on, guys. Let's
It's too
vote.
bad. They submitted a bunch of stuff. They don't want to organize it. Let's get it organized and give it to the planning commission. It's ridiculous. Absolutely
Inappropriate.
ridiculous.
Judge, you're being inappropriate. Take the vote. We call for the question.
Quiet.
Bang your gavel.
Quiet.
We
Quiet.
call for the question. Now take a vote.
Welcome to my world.
I've just made I made a motion there, Barry. I made an addition to that. Can she decline that?
You didn't get a second, Judge. I don't think there was a second on your.
All right.
If we made the motion to stop debate, doesn't that stop debate and we immediately go into the vote?
Yes.
All right. All in favor of sending it back to the planning commission, say aye.
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 Can't hear you.
The motion was, so if you vote yes, you're voting to deny it. The motion was to deny.
No. We should vote no on this.
No. The motion is to deny. So an affirmative vote is to deny that it is, you're moving, she's moved to, now I'm
You're okay.
tongue-tied. If you want to vote it down, you vote yes.
Okay. That's not why we started out with this.
That's what the
the
motion
motion
says.
is.
If you vote no, you're voting in favor of the planning commission's draft.
Let's see if we can get this right.
I disagree with that.
Should we do a roll call?
All
vote?
right. The vote is, if you vote yes, we are voting to turn this down and send it back to the planning commission.
Correct.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Judge, can we take a 5-minute break, please?
Yeah, I think we should. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Whose is this?
Is there a motion we go back into session?
So
please?
moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Before we carry on, even though most of the people in the room have left, I will apologize to Magistrate Hawkins for losing my temper with her. I apologize to you. Yeah, I think you probably didn't deserve what I leveled you with, but nevertheless, we're all human and we're all subject to the whole data center thing has been a stressful item for all of us, and we're trying to get through it. I think we'll be, so I apologize to you for that.
I forgive you, Judge.
Thank you.
I apologize too. I can get loud sometimes.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on here with our contracts and resolutions, safe streets and roads for all. That'd be Mr. Silliman.
Yes, Jim Silliman, County Engineer. Just bring this up on the screen. First, I'll start by saying what this is about is in 2023, collaborating with Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency, known as KIPTA, and 15 other participating cities, towns, and counties, we applied and successfully received Safe Streets and Roads for All Planning and Demonstration Grant. What that was in total about it was an originally $750,000 project to create these safety action plans for all those communities, and KIPTA organized and ran the show with their consultant. Our contribution to that was only $7,663.54. It was a 20% match of the $750,000, and it was split based on, I think, population among those 15 communities. So to get a report of the size that you've seen here, this action plan for less than $8,000 is really incredible, and it's something we'll use and need to use to apply for any future funds, specifically for the Safe Streets for All federal grants. We have to have this in place. So it's really an amazing document, I think, to have gotten that, and we appreciate KIPTA getting us through that. So with that, the resolution itself, I think the easiest way is just for me to read the resolution.
All right. Do we have the resolution approving the Safe Streets Plan as presented?
Judge?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that. You want me to read the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to, like to move that we approve Resolution 0101-20-26, whereas the 25 fatal traffic crashes, 65 serious injury traffic crashes, and a 4,364 total traffic crashes have been documented on Oldham County roads between 2018 and 2022, not including Interstate 71, and whereas the societal cost of those traffic crashes is $420 million, and whereas Oldham County did utilize a planning grant through the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, SS4A, and coordinated with the Kentucky Regional Planning and Development Agency, KIPTA, to develop a safety action plan for Oldham County to analyze existing conditions, historical trends, systematic and specific needs, and to identify projects and strategies to address identified problems. And whereas the final fiscal or Oldham County Safety Action Plan dated 6/25/25 resulting from that was provided to Oldham County, and whereas a safety action plan is an eligible requirement and for implementation grants through the SS4A program, and whereas community commitment to an eventual goal of 0 fatalities and serious injuries is an important component for U.S. DOT consideration of an implementation grant through SS4 program. Now therefore be it resolved that the Oldham County Fiscal Court hereby accepts the action plan dated June 25th, 2025, approved and adopted at a regular meeting of the Oldham County Fiscal Court on 20th day of January 2026. And this did come through Road Committee and with a positive recommendation to Fiscal Court.
Second the motion.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about it? Magistrate Hawkins.
Jim, on here I was reading about the stakeholders and the steering committee, and it was made up of about 11 people. but it doesn't say who they were or what they did. Do you know what the?
Yeah, so the public meetings, we incorporated them into the road committee to make it more timely and efficient. And at that time, it would have been the road committee members, of course, myself and Ben Kimbler are staff to that committee, and the public members that were present.
Okay.
And then also, if you look through it also, in addition to that, there were surveys completed. So the public survey data was compiled by the consultant.
Okay, so the 11 people were the 11 people in the room at the time the road
That's
committee
correct.
met? Okay.
That's correct.
Anyone else? Right, we've got a motion on the floor to approve this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
Jim, can you get this put on your website?
I can coordinate with Ms. Prain, and I think we can do that.
Yeah. I don't know about the rest of it. I get calls from people that tell me about certain intersections, how dangerous they are, and all of that. Well, I guarantee you can find a lot of stuff out in those 88 pages. So, I mean, I'm just trying to, we pay for this knowledge, let's try to spread it around.
I mean, it's about, 80 pages here?
Yes, sir.
You know,
I don't know if we can provide a link or something.
You
We'll
got
talk about how
files
we
that
make it
big on there.
available. If we can talk about how to make the PDF available easily,
maybe KIPTA has it on their website.
or we can direct them to
I'll work
my
on it.
we can direct them to my office if we
It
need
can
to.
be optimized. To make it a smaller document.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We'll go on to Chief Smith now to discuss flock camera recommendation.
The contract you have in front of you is for the next 3 flock cameras that we intend to purchase. The money's already in the police department budget. We've done some evaluation where we like to install those cameras, but it's $9,000. It's a 3-year contract. With the 4 already and those 3, it would be about $21,000 a year from here on out. If you're interested, as far as where we're going to install these cameras, we're going to put one at the 17 at the Buckner exit, probably right in front of the subway. Most people, it seems like when they get off there, they go to the residential areas, so it'd be a good place to put it. We're going to put a second one at 393 in front of Kroger's because of all the increased activity we're having in 393. We already had some thefts there, so we thought that would be a good idea. And the last one, at the request of the detectives, is going to be a 146 westbound going out of the county, because they have identified some of our stolen property, some of our stolen cars going out that area, and they requested we put one there.
Okay. All right. Magistrate Tice.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. Earlier, we had several people that spoke up against flock cameras. And I thought it was a good thing, and you and I have even talked about it a little bit back when you first brought it up. Kind of bring me together with what we're getting ready to do and what the intent or what our residents, our citizens are telling us are bad that's going down.
Well, I think there's been some recent incidents with the flock cameras that has kind of cast a shadow over all of them. We share our flock cameras with other law enforcement agencies. They share theirs with ours. It is an approval between the police departments for that to happen. And we started this flock program in May of 2023, and since the onset of that, we have never had one complaint about any flock camera being used anywhere. But I do think it's a couple incidents that's cast a negative shadow on it. For your information, I can give you a few stats on flock cameras. In 2025, there's a documented through the flock cameras, 7,968,067 cars that in vehicles come through those flock cameras. That's 4 flock cameras. So it documents a lot. Of those numbers, that has developed 56 cases for us. So it's not like it's something that we look into daily. We only look into it when the identifier on the license plate tells us that it's one of our cases or someone else's cases. I mean, basically, a flock camera is a license plate reader. When it comes through the system, It'll read the license plate. If there is a hit or a wanted on that license plate, we get notification of that. If we have something we're looking for, then we can put into the Flock system a license number and someone that hopefully another agency will find that and help us out. The Flock camera systems that we have and the other ones that we have used has been instrumental in 3 homicides that's happened at Oldham County. So when you take a look at the need for it, sometimes it's not necessarily by saying it doesn't reduce crime, but necessarily it does supplemental investigations that are critical to us. So the comment that it doesn't reduce crime may be accurate, but I don't know if it's truly that accurate. Because if it's leading us to make an arrest, that's reducing crime. There were some other comments, and if I did kind of document some of what people were saying. Excuse me. You know, that reduced crime, I already commented on that. I do think it has an effect to reduce the crime. I don't know how large that effect is, but if we make an arrest using that system, that's reducing the crime. Yes, sir? Oh, he had hand up. I thought you had a question.
I'm just waiting to be called on next.
Okay.
Magistrate Woosley.
Have you gotten your questions?
I got my question answered by the chief. You were going to read some stuff that you heard from us. Are you
I will.
through?
No, I'll continue if it's okay.
Yeah, let's let you
Okay.
continue and get all that out so we can get that.
Okay,
together.
there was a comment about you sidestep warrants. Well, that's not true. A Flock camera system doesn't give you the right to sidestep a warrant. It will supplement a warrant, but it's not necessarily, going to give you the right to sidestep a warrant. You can use that in the affidavit for a warrant, but it doesn't give you the right to do that. It said that the data was hacked. Very well may be, but what data today hasn't been hacked? I mean, it happens all the time. So I would think Flock camera system is probably just as susceptible as we are. It said they had a suspicious profile. I've never seen anything with the Flock camera that indicates to me that there is a process where they develop a profile on any type of car, any type of person. I will think that it would probably be beneficial if you had an area that was gang infested, drug infested, if you could put a camera up in that area to document the cars going through. Because we did that years ago when I worked in narcotics. We looked at license numbers and we traced them back to people. That's an investigative technique. That's not necessarily developing a profile. It's more of an investigative technique. Another comment was made about the retention period. The retention period for Flock cameras, the contract we have, is 30 days. After 30 days, the license plate that was taken is deleted unless we tell them to hold it for investigative purposes. So it does not, to my knowledge, it doesn't go into a system that is maintained indefinitely. And just for the number that we have documented in 4 cameras, I can't imagine what that number would be nationally if they had to put it up. So there has to be a deleting system, or it's just 30 days. And the last one is open records. That's true. Flock camera information is public. It is subject to open records. There are agencies throughout the United States that are actually questioning, the Flock camera, the cost, and then the trouble for the open records. Because our open records have grown exponentially, the number of open records that we have. So a media could ask for, give me all the cars that came through from January 1 to January 18th on US 42. If it's an open record, we got to give it out, we got to give that out. But they have to get it within that 30-day retention period.
Thank you.
Those are the main points that I documented. Might have been more, but those are the main ones. And there really is not a Fourth Amendment violation by the camera just reading a license plate. And Mr. Baxter can probably explain that better than I can. If it's open to the public, there is no expectation of privacy.
Judge.
Do I have the floor?
Sure, Mr. Woosley.
Chief, I wrote down some questions as they came up today, just to ask you specifically. But who owns the data that you're collecting off of these cameras?
Basically, it's our data. It's
Oldham
stored by
County
them.
Police Department's data.
Yes, that's my understanding of it, but it is kept in the Flock system.
Do you sell that data to
No.
anybody else? But you do share it with other law enforcement agencies?
We will share, yes, we will share it we will let them have access to our system.
There's not any long-term tracking on a specific license plate unless it is entered into the FBI database. So
It has to be
unless you
for-
have a reason to look for my license plate, you're not just entering it in there so that you can track me or?
Right.
Okay.
It has to be for a law enforcement purpose. If it's like car wanted for a robbery or sexual assault or something, you're missing persons, you can enter that stuff. You can enter those license plates in it.
Okay. Internally, who has access to that database from your department?
The database itself, the officers can make an inquiry into.
Any officer can make an inquiry?
I believe that's correct, yes. And then we have made, I can tell you exactly how many inquiries we've made. We had made 4,821 inquiries in 2025.
Okay. And finally, we heard today that there was concerns about Fourth Amendment. Do you have any concerns?
The way the flock camera,
violations on using
no,
these cameras?
I really don't. The way the flock camera is set up right now is a license plate reader only. If in fact, well, here's some examples of some cars that have come through Oldham County. Protective orders 215. So if a license plate is attached to a protective order and that license plate comes up, then we'll know that this car is the license plate, don't know this license plate is wanted for has a protective order outstanding. We've had 15 violent people come up on license, but it's an indicator for us. This tells us that this license plate is associated with that person. The license plate is in open view. It's in open view. There's no expectation of privacy if it's in the public. Because consider it has to be on a car. It's licensed by the state. The driver has to have a driver's license. You have to have insurance. These are required KRS requirements. If they're driving on the street, there's no expectation of privacy for that.
And then Oldham County, this will bring us to 7, but the city of LaGrange also has them. City of Crestwood, do they have them?
I think LaGrange has 3, Crestwood has 4, and I believe PB Valley has 3. So governmental owned, that'll bring it up to 17. And I know of 6 neighborhoods that have flock cameras, and we have access to their information. And basically, it's just sharing information.
Homeowners associations.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Right, Magistrate Logston.
Yes, I just want the public to understand, these are license plate readers. Every time you go to Indiana on 65 or Gene Snyder, the bill will beat you home with your address and everything else on it. So there's no more difference I don't see as a flock camera and the cameras you go across Gene Snyder at. Only I get a bill when I go over there. I don't get a bill every time I go through you.
It's basically the same system. It just reads the plate and identifies the plate.
And also, did we put one down on Reamers Road in Old Henry?
No, there's one at Ash and Reavers, I believe.
Ash and Old Floydsburg.
Ash and Old Floydsburg, right. We looked at putting one at Harley Gibson in that area, but because there's one right down the street, we didn't. And actually, the detectives were more interested in having one westbound on 146th than there. Now, if we had another one, we probably would. Quite frankly, there's a dozen spots we could put them in the county, but they can be expensive.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Just one quick question. On the quote that we received, it shows an expiration date of 1/9/26. Will they still honor this quote?
Right now, it's $3,000 for a governmental price for the camera.
Right, no, but the quote that we received that shows here, it says the expiration date of the quote was on 1/9/26.
Oh, yeah, we're okay with it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. We're okay with it, yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I had.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Somebody said that that the flock company was able to access login information and then also used for stalking. Can you tell, I was going to ask her if she was still here, bridge that gap, how that happens? Login information?
Login information. Well, everybody has a login information. I have a login information. You just can't dial up flock and go into it. You have to identify yourself when you go into that login information. So you wouldn't have it. A civilian wouldn't have it, not unless you're associated with our organization. You're allowed to have it through our organization.
And so when they're broken into or hacked,
Mm-hmm.
is that where that information can get extrapolated from?
That would be a question for Flock. I don't know. But I know, when an organization is hacked, it just depends on what information they can get to. That I wouldn't know, Mr. Hawkins.
Okay, and if we don't renew this today, then we'll just be continuing to have our 3 or 4 that you mentioned.
Right.
And so this is for 27,000. Is that for what we currently have?
That's for 3 years. The
Okay.
flock cameras are $3,000 a piece. We currently have 4 that we're paying for. This will add 3 to it. So that would be, what, $27,000 or $21,000 a year?
Because don't we pay to operate them too? We pay Flock to
It's an annual fee.
One-time fee.
one-time fee. Okay.
Yeah. And on this particular contract, they waived the administration fee, $2,800.
So we can vote that if we choose to not have the additional 3 today, we'll still be able to continue our contract with the first 3 or 4 that we have.
Right.
Okay.
If the court approves it every year.
They should die.
I think Hounds was first.
You can have the floor. I'll give it to you.
Okay. Chief, you had mentioned that you had 57 cases.
56.
How many?
56.
Yeah, okay. Were those cases, were you able to adjudicate those cases, or what happened to those 56 cases?
Well, those are cases where the detectives or an officer was conducting an investigation, and in the course of the investigation, they were looking for a car.
Mhm.
And those are the 56 cases that we had that Flock was instrumental in providing us with information
Right,
with the car.
So it helped
That's like the 3 references I made about the homicides.
right.
We use those Flock cameras in the investigation of the homicides, which help locate suspects.
That doesn't necessarily solve the crime, but can possibly, like with a emergency protection order, you might be able to get to
Right.
someone if you need to.
Well, you know,
One thing that you didn't mention that I'm pretty sure that y'all did, is a lot of HOAs have these.
Right.
And you all are, they're latched into you all too, right? So if
We
they-
have access to their systems. They
Yeah.
may not have access to ours. A lot of times you trade that information.
Right. So if a
With
car,
with law enforcement, we trade it. With these HROs, I'm going to say it's a one-way process, but I could be wrong with that.
yeah, but if a wanton warrant comes into a subdivision, you all pick it up even though you all didn't pay for
Right.
the camera.
Right.
Right, okay, thank you.
Can I interrupt just 1 second, Your Honor? Can I?
Sure.
One thing that, the chief has alluded to this, but I want to make sure that you all are clear and you understand this. You know, we trade that information, and we have a vehicular going on right now. Suspect has been arrested, where the vehicle that was involved in the vehicular was located out of county. And by using somebody else's flock camera, we were able to track that vehicle from here down to far eastern Kentucky. Is that not true?
That's correct.
And was instrumental in solving that homicide.
Very much so. Yes. So when you put a dollar value to that, what's the dollar value to that? You don't put a dollar value to that. So that's how I kind of take exception when people say it's not a crime prevention issue. I mean, it really is.
Magistrate Hounds.
The comments about the data breach, I don't know if others are in the same position, but I was trying to go through my head. I think I had 5 letters last year of potential data breach of different kinds of data. So it's not, if someone says it's just flock specific, that's not true. I mean, it could be anything. It could be the data on your cell phone. It could be your Netflix account or whatever. Because I don't know if it was Netflix. One of those streaming services got hacked last year. So I think our group today doesn't appear, by your comments, we're getting the benefit of the flock cameras, and this is something that we should pass in order to keep the level of public safety that we have today across Oldham County. The 3 cameras are going to work in conjunction with. One comment that hasn't been asked, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. It is Oldham County Police, Oldham County Sheriff has access to them, so it's not just a the police department's paying for it, but if the sheriff's department needed that information, they would have access.
So does LaGrange.
LaGrange.
has access to it.
Thank you.
You know, the system now is when the car comes through and the flock camera hits on the license number, officers will get a text message on their cell phone. What we're going to try to do is change that to an email. And that way more dispatchers in the dispatch will get that information as well. Right now it's all cell phone. But anyway, the system's been working, and we've made some cases off of it. But it's kind of interesting when you take a look at the 7.9 million cars that come through. I mean, it kind of gives an indication of what kind of traffic we have in Oldham County.
Manager Jeffries.
Judge, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like a motion. I thought we had one. No, I don't think so. Okay. I would like to move that we approve the 3 flock cameras for the 3-year contract for total amount of $27,000 to purchase the additional 3 flock cameras or the service.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the flock camera? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you. The next item has to do with, from Tina, on-site health solutions contract.
Good afternoon. Before you is an agreement with On-Site Health Solutions. This is the company that we use for our biometric screenings. We have biometric screenings offered to our employees as part of our wellness program. It's completely voluntary. So they come on site and they do these screenings for us each year. Doesn't cost us anything. They go ahead and the company bills United Healthcare for these. And we have them come out here. They're scheduled to come out 3 days in February at this point.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion. We allow you to sign the on-site agreement, on-site health solutions agreement.
Second.
Any discussion about it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, personnel actions.
For personnel items, we have a contract renewal for the police department, Kelly Ernst at $37.85, effective on the 22nd. I believe you all have the contract attached. Do you want these separate, Judge?
Okay, well, we can do them together, I don't think.
Okay. And then we have road department new hire as equipment operator 2, Greg Sharp at $22 an hour, effective tomorrow. And the last item is just an announcement that resignation for Kenneth Heitzman.
Make a motion, we hire Kelly Ernst at the police department and Greg Sharp at the road department.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board appointments. I have one here today. I'd like to recommend the reappointment of Dr. Brad Olds to a term to expire on December 31st, 2027. This is for the Oldham County Board of Health.
You're making that motion, Judge?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion on Dr. Olds? Mr. Woosley.
How long has he been on the board?
1 term.
1 term? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Any further, we've time now for any public comments. Do we have any from the, all right, Larry, do you have something?
Excuse me, Larry Kaiser, 3000 Maple Leaf Drive. Thank you for giving me a few more minutes. Hopefully, no one loses their temper and yells at me. I want to bring up a couple of things. I think you guys kind of missed the point earlier. I heard from Police Chief Smith about solving crimes and reducing crimes in the name of safety or rights. I don't know if you guys will entertain me, but by show of hand, who has firearms? Who owns guns? Anybody? Okay, couple? Okay. Would you guys be interested in having a gun registry? You guys volunteer what guns you own, the serial numbers and all that. That would make everyone safer. That would help solve crimes for stolen weapons. If there's if we're trafficking or post-incident investigations, if we had a gun registry, would that not help you reduce crimes? I don't see anyone asking for that, and that's because you would have concerns and reservations about the intent. Why do you need to know my guns? I don't want to give up my rights in the name of safety. That's what you guys did. You're not applying the same thought to each of those decisions. Hackers, I understand you guys talked about hackers in some obscure thought. Well, Verizon has hackers, they got my data. Other people get hacked, they have my data. I think the hacker concern is more neighborly. One of the issues that came up just last week or a couple weeks ago was in Louisville. Someone not authorized asked someone who was authorized for ICE or some other process to run a system. It wasn't hacked in, it was led in by someone searching on behalf of someone else. So for those things, are all the searches logged? Do we know who is making what search? Is that audited by any sort of independent party? Because I think some of the concern is not necessarily a hacker getting the data and selling it. Okay, well they sell pictures or whatever. It's tracking down ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands, other things, sharing it with ICE. Like there are other quote-unquote hackers. I'm not paying Facebook. It's not the government agency that, that I'm paying taxes and them like collecting my data. That's a voluntary relationship. So I don't know if we're searching or if we're tracking all those searches. I would ask if we're going to keep the system to help prevent misuse by unauthorized users or even authorized users, track and record all those searches. I know you're also framing it as a license plate reader. Okay, I understand that's how you're using it. But the technology, it's recording, it has pictures, so it has all of the details stored, whether you use it or not, who's in the car. It sees the color of the car, where you're going, and people do build, warrantless information. If you can do a search without a warrant, then I think you're infringing on people's rights. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I could be wrong about this, Chief. A license plate reader can't tell you who's in the car, can it?
I'm electrical engineer. I know a little bit about image recognition and how it works. Like the camera takes a picture of a frame. It doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what a car is. It has algorithm and stuff in there to identify what a license plate might be, a certain size rectangle with letters on it. And in order for that to happen, like it has a picture, it would take a picture of this room and it would see all those details. You may not use it for everything else, but if in the frame of the picture it has like who's in there, then it has who's in there. And that database has that, whether you use it or not, it's still there, it's still recorded data. All these private companies, their goal is to make money. If they can monetize that data, they're going to do so. They have all that
so
data.
Are you saying if a car goes over the Lewis and Clark Bridge and gets your license plate, they know who's in your car too?
In the picture, in the image, yes, they would be able to see that. Now, a computer or a person has to look at that and then identify. There's still some software pieces that have to happen, but that image still exists. And whatever you can do with an image, you can do with that image, like now or later, I guess 30 days or whatever. But even then, when you delete data, it's never really gone. They may not keep it for 30 days, but they don't go in and completely erase the hard drives. Even if they did, like that image is still there. But they can do anything with that image.
I've got a question. Have you ever seen the picture off of a flock camera of a license plate?
No.
Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, we used to have in my neighborhood all you can basically see is the license plate. And the camera is set at an angle to where it picks that up. It doesn't do an evolving look of the car.
By virtue of it getting that license plate, it has to observe everything in the frame. I could be driving in the center, I could be driving on the left, like that camera is smart enough to know where that license plate is because it looks at more than the license plate. It can't find it without looking at everything else. So just because that's what you all see, doesn't mean that's all that's there. The whole image is there in the server.
It's going to see through the back window and the back of the head of the driver.
I believe so, yeah. I don't know how you wouldn't, because if you have a license plate right here and the person's head is up there, if they keep going, like, that's still going to be in there at both instances. The head and the people in the window are all in the frame of that camera. It's recording. It saves it.
So I should be able to see all of that when I look at that.
You may not be able to, they may not be able to, but that data is there in the system.
But you can't
You might
say-
have to pay for more.
But you can't say that that's all that it's getting, other than just getting a license plate, period.
In order for that system to tell you and identify the license plate, it has to look at the whole picture to do an algorithm and a search to identify what the license plate is. How does the camera know what a license plate is?
I think the next.
It has
question for
features,
your guy.
rectangle letters.
That's a good question for yourself.
You keep talking to me, I'll answer questions.
That's
but-
all right. Okay. We've had a good discussion on this. Okay, we got you. Thank you, Larry. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Please state your name and address.
O'Donnell.
Sorry, did you say
Centerfield.
Tara?
T-A-R-A, O'Donnell, Centerfield.
You want to pull that microphone down just a little bit there?
I agree with the very tall Mr. Kaiser.
You can pull the whole mic forward.
Okay, thank you. I agree with some of the points that he made. One thing I would like to know, and first of all, also applaud the some of the successes you all mentioned about the flock cameras. I know that any of us in this room, if our children went missing, we would thank God for them and the ability to track people all over the county. One question I have, though, is safety for people. There are several examples online where women have been tracked by officers leaving states to get abortions and turned around in another state by Flock. Flock also has an agreement with Ring cameras. So as you're saying, what defeats your idea of just having a license plate, they're also in link with Ring. So you're talking about who's standing on your front porch as well is involved in all this data. I want to know that we have a track and trace retention in place for who accesses it and why. I don't know whether there needs to be some kind of warrant to get this information, but there are several documented cases where these people have been followed by police officers who have accessed the system for nefarious reasons, and I want to know that we're protected for that. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
You can't make people not break the law.
Okay.
Do you need my name again?
Yeah.
Amy Wellborn. First, I just wanted to thank you all for a step in the right direction on the data center discussion earlier. I wanted to thank you, Judge, for confirming that hyperscales have no place in the county and that IPD should be removed from the zoning tables. Thirdly, I'd like to thank the Fiscal Court for allowing this collaboration with Oldham County residents in this manner. I think it's progress. And fourth, that there was mention of more than one written amendment to the, I know I've seen Magistrate Hawkins she'd posted hers on Facebook, and I think I've seen Magistrate Woosley's, but I think there was mention of 4 or 5 of them. And as an Oldham County citizen who's been very vested in this whole process, I feel like we should have a right to see all of them as well as what's sent to the Planning Commission. I kind of expected that to be happening today, like to read through each person's proposal so that we could digest it as well. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, right. I understand, that's why I thought we should try to organize it onto one piece of paper to have, you know, because it's kind of hard to get your head around the ideas on 6 different pieces of paper, you know, for 4 submissions.
Barry Laws, resident of Oldham County. I agree with Amy that was, well, on a few things. Thank you. Seriously. I mean, this has been such a long process. We've had words. Like you, I hate having words with you. And I just wish we could get this over with, and I'm really dissatisfied that we couldn't do it, but I understand the legal ramifications. I too would really love to see what everybody's amendments were, so we know what, you know, that's kind of what this whole meeting was about, is to see what you folks, what your opinions were, so I fully agree with you. If there's a way to do that, that would be awesome, to put it out somewhere that, you know, these are what we're sending the amendments to planning and development. Magistrate Jeffries, I'm a wee bit confused on, and this is my ignorance, I admit it, but I thought you guys were where the buck stopped. Why can't you tell planning and development, we want it taken out of IPD, we want this last sentence taken out, we want this, we want that, once you guys get your list together? I don't understand why we're kowtowing to planning and development if this is what you want and this is what you feel your constituents want. I am very confused about that. That being said, again, thank you so much, and if there is a way to have that list out that we could find out what, I'd love to know what you want.
I don't think, I understand, you think we might be kowtowing. We're not really kowtowing to planning and development.
That's a bad word.
Well, the process is that there was too much of a substantive change in the ideas that were generated here to do it here without going back to a first reading to them. So I think that's where we're not really, we're just following the process here. It's going to come back up here again, and each magistrate will have a chance. I will try, in my office, we'll take what was submitted, try to get it organized and put out what each person had in a way that can be easily followed. And then I think it should go to planning and zoning. And if they want to make any changes, we've heard the, you know, the IPD issue. You know, we need to get through this, and I don't think there were really too many. It's just a few things that, but it was too much for us to. It was more of a mouthful than we could chew here today as a team today. I feel, you know.
Judge, can I say one thing too? Mr. Laws, I mean, the other issue is the timing issue, okay? Yeah. Had we had more than 6 days, and it definitely would have required a new first reading, okay? If we had 6 weeks until the 90 days expired, then we could have had a first reading, and it's all within the scope of what the Planning Commission sent here. Then we just have to have a first reading. It doesn't necessarily have to go back to the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, because of the timing, we were left with 3 options. Vote for, don't vote at all, which those two, either one of those options, the proposed ordinance from the Planning Commission became the law, or vote it down and send it back to the Planning Commission. So that's how we ended up here. It's more of a timing component, which means, you know, it needs to get here quicker to give the fiscal court more time to be able, if something like this were to come up, if Magistrate Hawkins, for example, proposed an amendment and it required another first reading, we could have had a first reading, had 2 weeks go by, we have our second reading and a public hearing. But we only have 6 days to have a first reading, a second reading, and we can't meet the publication requirements.
So that is clear, and thank you so much. I guess my question is, maybe it's a power question, but, and this is back to Magistrate Jeffries, is why can't we tell planning and development, we want this change? I understand we still have to have the first reading, second reading. I understand all that. But is there anything that keeps you folks from saying, these are the changes we want, period? And I know this isn't question and
I'm not sure
answer.
there is. I just think that we probably felt as a group that the different suggestions that were here couldn't be digested by everybody simultaneously. You know, I mean,
Well, once the food's eaten and digested,
I know.
is
Well,
there
I mean,
anything that
right, I
keeps
mean-
keeps them from doing what you're asking them to do?
Judge, can I?
sure.
And I'm ignorant to this, by the way.
Well, Barry, I just want to say I did serve on the Planning Commission for 26 years, and so, you know, they are set up under KRS 100. You know, they are a body that is appointed by, there's 10 members from Oldham County that are appointed to that by this body. Then there is 5 from, 2 from LaGrange, 2 from Pee Wee, and 1 from Crestwood to make up the Planning Commission. So, you know, they're a legal body or whatever. So, you know, I think we get into a situation if we tell a body that's been set up under statute or whatever, you know, how to do their job. To me, that's not, you know, and our county attorney might be able to address that better because I'm not an attorney. But I think that, you know, they need to have autonomy that they send to us. We have the final say as the legislative body here in Oldham County. Then the 3 cities also have a say because they are part of the planning unit. So, you know, I'm real uncomfortable sending something back to the Planning Commission and said, oh, you've got to make this change, this change, you know, and that's not what their role is in my mind.
Oh, we can still make those changes when it comes back.
Absolutely, right.
Well, I'm just afraid we're going to be in a loop because we'll be back and you'll be mad and I'll be mad. And, you know, I just don't want this loop. It's like we've all kind of said, look, let's just take IPD. We don't want an IPD. You know, you admit it wouldn't even fit in IPD. So we want that change. And if it comes back IPD, then we're back another 4 months or whatever.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's the process.
That's the process.
Okay. I know, like
That's
I said,
the
I'm
process.
ignorant to this. This is something. Thank you so much for your time.
Is there anybody else who would like to address the court? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment and we'll wind up our meeting today with a few more statements, if we will, from any magistrate. Magistrate Logston? Nothing. Magistrate Dye?
Nothing.
Magistrate Howns? Magistrate Hawkins?
I wanted to address the question that was asked and just make the statement that most people that I know don't tout whether or not they're toting heat or not. And then I also wanted to just recognize a subject that's important to me, and that's the Roe v. Wade that was implemented 53 years ago. I'm grateful for a governor who had the foresight to implement a trigger law that when it was overturned at the federal level, got brought back down to the state level, and then that trigger law took an effect, making it essentially illegal in Kentucky. But for 53, well, it's been 53 years, for 50 years, abortion was legal, and I remember constantly just the generations that have been lost through that act. So just wanted to recognize that and keep it on the forefront. And it's this week. That's why I'm bringing it up today. I usually bring it up the second week of January because it was January 22, 1973. So an important topic, and want to keep the light on it. I feel like it's a genocide. It was a genocide for 50 years of generations of people. So that's all I have today, Judge. Thank you.
Magistrate Howns?
We've gone through the data center conversation, and I hope that people will look at the signs that they posted out in the beginning of this process, and that was to follow the process, and that's what we're trying to do. As cumbersome as it may be, that's what we're trying to do as a court. And we're all learning about the process because in my 9 years, we just had my 9-year anniversary of being on the fiscal court, we haven't had anything like this. And so we're having to, as I told some of the magistrates earlier, we're have to fly the plane, figure out that it doesn't fly well, come back down, fix it, and send it back up. Second thing is, maybe your phone hasn't, but mine, since we've been in here, I've probably gotten a half a dozen weather alerts. So it looks like we're going to get some weather activity a little bit tomorrow and maybe this weekend. So please keep your eyes and ears to the potential weather issues. And a plug too, if you're not signed up for Smart 911, now's a great opportunity. You can go to the county website. There's a block down at the bottom. You can click the button and sign up for Smart 911 and get the weather alerts. It's a very simple tool to get the information, and let's hope that Zach doesn't have to use that this weekend and send out us any alerts. Thank you.
Right. Magistrate Jeffries.
Yes, Judge, there are a couple things. I've noticed the last couple of days out in my area, Ballardsville, AT&T has been out there removing some of their legacy copper cables that are around the county. Now that Oldham County has fiber countywide, I think the FCC is allowing them to start removing some of the old copper cable. And that we had an issue last year out in Ballardsville. Somebody was cutting some of that cable down and stealing it and burning it and whatever. So I think that's going to be a good thing. It's going to take a lot of weight off of these power poles, and I think that'll be good, moving forward. So if you'll see some trucks out there and with the big drums on them that they're actually removing some of that legacy copper. Also, the Gravel Road Standards Committee, which I chair, we were asked to look at some roads. We're making great progress on updates to some legacy gravel roads in a couple areas in Oldham County. So that process is moving forward, and we've been meeting. We've met 3 times and trying to come up with some legacy gravel road standards, hopefully for Oldham County, that we'll bring to court for consideration sometime, we hope, fairly soon. So that's all I have, Judge.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Woosley.
Thank you. On Thursday, January 22nd, which is in 2 days, we're having the dumpster day for the 3rd District. It's going to be 2 roll-off dumpsters placed in the southwest corner of the parking lot down at Schambach Park, starting at 8 o'clock. I have information on my Facebook page about what is acceptable for that. Second, the end of this month, Major Keith Smith is retiring from the LaGrange Fire Department. He's been a member of the fire department for 33 years. I just want to wish him well in his retirement and thank him for all he's done for not only the fire department, but also Oldham County. This morning, I was a little bored, and I was listening to the Trumbull County Fiscal Court meeting, which I suggest we all do at some point. They discussed America's 250th celebration resolution. Have you guys gotten anything out on that through your office?
Not yet. We haven't done anything. We do have agreed to accept 1 to 3, what do we call it? Liberty trees to be planted in the county here.
Okay.
So, but we haven't organized anything yet.
Last week, you offered for magistrates to show up at the courthouse and do a courthouse tour, and that building is really impressive. I think it's going to be something that's going to serve the county well and for many generations. So I congratulate the group that's been working on that. I had mentioned in here the snow forecast that Magistrate Hounds just talked about coming in later on this weekend. On Saturday afternoon, I will have a half gallon of milk and probably 3/4 loaf of bread for sale if anybody's interested. And then finally, this morning at the Parks Committee, we met with a vendor to discuss the playground equipment for Schambach Park. Sounds like we're moving in that direction, and we'll have some information for Fiscal Court probably at our next meeting to install the playground equipment down there. And we're hoping to have that in there before the summer. And that's all I got, Judge.
All right, thank you. Manager Tice.
Yes, I missed the tour that we had that one day, but for the new AOC building, but I went a couple of days later. That building is outstanding. It's it's just fabulous for our community to have something like that. I know the committee that was doing it chose the oak versus the cherry, and cherry's pretty, but this oak just shows the green so much. I just thought it was outstanding. So even if you're just in LaGrange kicking around and you can go in and look at it, you'd be proud of it. So I wanted to say something on that. Thank you.
Wayne, I believe it's walnut.
Is that walnut? Well, that's what I know about it. But I'm telling you, it's gorgeous.
That's a funny looking
It's
oak.
absolutely gorgeous. You could have gone all day and not said it. Nobody else would know that. Okay.
It's walnut. Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. Congratulations to our neighbors, the Indiana Hoosiers, 16-0, perfect season. And I think it was 50 years ago that good old Bobby Knight had a perfect season, 32-0. So Indiana's getting it done. In the Oldham area was a survey for the Stewart Park survey. I know a lot of people don't get the Oldham area. I wish everybody in the county would get the Oldham area. It has news about everything that goes on in the county. And unfortunately, in my district, we all work in Jefferson County, so they come back and forth. And I think a lot of people don't know about the Stewart Park survey, but I would like maybe for the judge to say something. We want to do that park the right way. It's going to be a legacy to all of us. 100 years from now, they won't know a single name of any person on this board, but they'll know that park is there. So, thank you, Judge.
Right. We have that survey in the paper if anybody doesn't have internet connection, but if you do have an internet connection, you can go on our site, the Facebook site, and fill out that same survey that is showing up in the paper there. And we've had over 500 people take the survey so far, and we'll be running it for about another week, and then we'll collate all the information that's come out and keep trying to move forward. Gary Parsons and I were out there last week on a chilly but sunny day, and it's a beautiful park. I think when people get in there and see, what we have, they're going to be really pleased with it. It's long-term play for the future of the county, so it's going to be great. Other than that, I think I've probably said enough for the day. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.